How do you push the client to close and complete the sale? Let me give you an example. 9 mistakes when closing a client for the next step. I'm going to point out the mistakes directly. I have a lot of real calls, a lot of case studies on this topic. Let's go. I'm just going to say them out loud. The first mistake is not stopping in time. For example, when signing an exclusive contract with the owner, the client doesn't want to, says it's not interesting, and that they won't do it for now. You say, but this is just how we do it every time. The client says, no, I understand, but just not right now. But still, Vladimir, and then we start going off into a monologue. So number 1 is know when to stop. Stop, ask questions, switch the topic, and start talking about something else. Remember, even for them, if the client doesn't want to, then your task is simply to switch the topic. Just shift the focus. Just start talking about something else. And then there's a higher chance that it will work. Second, use different communication channels. This is already a classic example. But here I want to add something. We don't add sincerity to negotiations, and that's what many people do. For some reason, many people don't like sending voice messages. I don't know, do you like sending voice messages? I really like it. And it works really well. Why don't people do it, huh? Third, they don't give the client space to breathe. That's what I'm saying. Space to breathe. What does that mean? We ask for an answer here and now. I want to give an example. I had this experience when I was about 19 or 20 years old. I used to go around a lot of apartments, ring the doorbells of city residents, and fill out questionnaires. I had to conduct social surveys, fill out questionnaires. And I remember my goal was simple. There were 12 to 15 questions. And I remember I was paid from 7 to 12 rubles for each questionnaire, and people needed to answer truthfully. I would fill them out there, and many people just didn't want to. Many didn't want to open the door, didn't want to answer. And I understood that a person needs a few seconds, about 5 to 10 seconds, just to realize that everything is safe, that no one is going to break into their apartment. That's why in the space for breathing, you need to give a person the opportunity, just some time, to come to their senses, to think, to switch gears. That's exactly why I started with switching. The fourth mistake. We turn on dialogue escalation when we hear no. We handle objections too much using the standard given formula. But it should be done differently. For example, Vladimir, thank you very much for showing everything. You are a very interesting conversationalist, a professional specialist, but right now it's not relevant, so let's put it off for now. And my technique is wrong. Yes, Vladimir, I understand. I'm already acting incorrectly because I'm saying it on an exhale. Yes, Vladimir, I understand. You can already hear that now I'm going to say what? Well, tell me, what am I going to say? I'm going to say but. Yes, Vladimir, I understand, but... And my intonation gives me away. But the but cancels out the significance of what I just said, or rather my so-called support. There wasn't any support at all. I just want to argue. And I escalate the dialogue, maybe even hint at a conflict in which I will definitely lose. I need to do it differently somehow. Differently means, Vladimir, I understand everything as you say. You really have to just melt. And genuinely melt. Genuinely support the person. What you really can't support a person who says, I'm not going to work with you, I'm not going to sign an exclusive with you, I'm not interested in this property, and I don't want to work with you as a realtor. People rarely act rude. Like, you're incompetent, you're showing nonsense. They don't say things like that. They say it indirectly, but you take it personally. For example, Vladimir, thank you very much. Well, I'll manage on my own for now. In reality, this means they've started working with another specialist or something like that. This offends you, and you start to hint that like I did a lot there, somehow, to attack there somehow. And this, oops, my eye fell out. And this escalates the conflict. Oops, yeah. Now you see the eye fell, something switched. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Vladimir, sometimes things like this happen. Well, listen, here, as you say, of course. I have another question for you. See, I switched. No, yes, Vladimir, I understand, but I'm turning on the tension. So the fifth point, general tension. We look at a person, and when they tell us no, or we want to somehow pressure them, we practically devour them with our gaze, and our focus shifts more to thoughts and logic than to the emotional side. The focus on logic is higher than on emotion. Whoa, imagine that. But that's not how it should be. So how should it be? There should be a sense that if you are tense, it means you really need this. If you are relaxed, it's like, you're singing songs along the way. Well, it's all good, everything's chill, everything's easygoing. Got it, Vladimir, got it, Maxim. Of course, as you say. There's actually one more thing I wanted to mention. Mistake number 6. Questions that are too direct. Without any preparation. Why don't you want to? What happened? And how long are you going to think about it? Is that okay? I can go on. Who told you that? Told you that? Where did you get that information? Are you even sure about that? See how I'm speaking? I'm speaking dryly and briefly. Just the worst option. When it comes to pushing the client, when you want to remember, the textbooks say you need to find out the client's needs. To find out the client's needs, you need to ask the client questions, right? Right. So that's exactly what you do. But for some reason, in these books, I've read them, I don't know, some or others, they never talk about warming up and preparing before asking questions. For example, the client says, Vladimir, I'm not going to sign the contract with Uzina. Let's just take a look for now. And then maybe, depending on the process, we'll decide if we want to move forward. Well, you see, I'm starting to lose my footing. You've just backed me into a corner. You've just made a mistake in pushing for the sale because now I feel insecure and uncomfortable inside. With just one simple question. And now, here's the correct example. Vladimir, let's take a look and study the market. Well, you'll show us some options. It's just that we've only just started working with you, so maybe later we'll consider an exclusive contract or some other options. All right, Victor, whatever you say, of course. Palms open, Vit, show openness, whatever you say, of course. Then I have, just a quick clarification for you. Is that all right? That was a brief warm-up, after which I'll start asking a series of questions. 7th mistake. This is when we show that we really need it. Really, really need it. And you can see it in our eyes. We've already counted the money for our vacation from this client. By the way, this point overlaps with one of those I mentioned earlier, but I'm highlighting it separately. 8th mistake. When we're pushing the client negotiating, we don't find new arguments. We run out of them. And if we've run out, then we need to ask questions, give hints, look around, shift the focus to something else. It's actually so great when you shift the focus. I remember, when I was renting an apartment once, I remember in the suburbs of Sochi in Sirius for 100,000 rubles. That was 5 years ago. I come in, the realtor walks in, and you know what he does? He says, come in, here are 2 rooms, here's the main kitchen, take a look around, see how you like it. And imagine he just went silent. He didn't start showing me anything or explaining anything. I was really surprised by that, and I actually liked it a lot, that he didn't seem desperate at all. He just kind of wandered around and looked at things, minding his own business a bit. But as soon as I turned my head toward him, he, like a waiter in an expensive restaurant, would say, yes, Vladimir. And in general, I took this apartment. I am very pleased with it. I still remember it. I lived in it for about a year, I think. I just didn't press. Well, it was a woman. She didn't push. And she helped me make all the decisions. Well, and the final thing, what number are we now? That's right, the 9th, right?
Number 10.
Already 10? Then let's stop at 9. Okay, so for the final comment, please write your opinion. And now I'll answer other questions that you are writing in the comments.